Welcome to Q&A with the Doctor and Daughter. I am your nutritional therapy practitioner, Roz Mignona, and this is my mother, Dr. Andrea Roberson. She is a family practice physician based in Mission Viejo, California. Our office website is www.ocfamilydoctor.com, and my website is www.realfoodfamily.com, where I have weekly meal plans and nutrition and natural living information available there. If you would like for us to answer your general questions, you can email info@ocfamilydoctor.com or roz@realfoodfamily.com. Okay, let's get into this week's questions. I would like to know what kind of alternate herbs can I take during menopause. This has been a difficult time due to the fact that I can't take hormones. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I have pain in my ovaries and anxiety about getting older, and worry that the cancer will come back. Does menopause and cancer have anything to do with each other? I would also like to hear more about eating healthy. I'm borderline diabetic and would like some information on how to reverse that. You start.
Breast cancer and menopause, the only correlation with those is that the incidence of breast cancer increases with every decade. So a woman that's 65 is more likely to have cancer than a woman who's 55. It probably doesn't have a lot to do with menopause itself. And the herbs, I just went to a talk about that and they did see not a lot of difference in placebo and the herbs. There was actually a slight bit of difference. They did see a difference with soy, which unfortunately is not very healthy for you because it's a very strongly binding estrogen and could be detrimental in breast cancer or other estrogen-driven cancers. Diabetes is controlled with diet and exercise, and that's a low-carbohydrate diet. Fats are not the evilest thing in the world. They can be used to your advantage, and any exercise at all. I just went to a diabetic lecture also, and they said 30 minutes, 5 days a week is going to make a huge difference in diabetes. So yeah, there's a lot you can do for controlling diabetes on your own.
I kind of see this as the cycle, and with nutritional therapy we work on the endocrine cascade. So there's usually a blood sugar issue leading to adrenal fatigue or dysfunction, thyroid, then your sex hormones, and then kind of we address the overall hormone balances. So there's definitely, I see kind of a, there's hormone imbalances probably based on these organs. There's definitely natural therapies that we have specifically for menopause, or for menopause symptoms. And what we do with nutritional therapy is that we address the organs that are involved with the menopausal symptoms. So I'll usually make sure that the blood sugar issues are handled. Being that you're borderline diabetic, we definitely start with a blood sugar regulating diet, which is in general low carb, but I like to make it very customized and individualized with my clients as far as a specific diet plan. And I agree, there's definitely lots of things that you can do with diet and exercise and lifestyle that are essential for these specific issues. My hair is falling out a lot, more than normal, and it has really thinned out. Will taking biotin help? Are there any other natural foods I can take to stop the hair from falling out?
I don't have a lot of experience with biotin. I have had patients try it, and it hasn't been helping. We found that there's a shampoo that was originally for fungal infections, and they've been seeing some increased growth from that. There is a lot to look at nutritionally with losing hair. I have a friend that lost 30 pounds, and then all kinds of her hair fell out. And we know that her dieting made her nutritionally deficient, and so it's just taken time to build that back up. There's no magic in getting the hair back, but there are some things you can do. I'm sure there's nutritional things.
Well, what I would...
medically, I would make sure we check thyroid.
Yeah, immediately I would think thyroid for this situation. It's kind of what you think of with hair falling out.
And thinning.
Or hair growing in places you don't want it. I think that more importantly, I would take this case and start from the beginning and see what other symptoms there are in their life, and probably address it that way first, instead of isolating a specific supplement or element that's, that some people say improves this symptom. We want to be addressing the whole body and why is this symptom happening. I recently been thinking about taking probiotics. I have a low white blood count, therefore my immune system is not quite up to par. What would you do, or what do you and your daughter think about taking them, and what should I look for to assure that I select the right one? Well, I think our office has what we consider to be the best liquid probiotic, and you can also visit realfoodfamily.com and go to my resources page, and I have some different supplements that you can check out there.
But the reason that we do feel there's a lot to probiotics, as do the doctors from Harvard, because in our irritable bowel, they did a section on probiotics and it talked about the purity of them, which our probiotics are very pure, but they did discuss the fact that this was an integral part of their irritable bowel. Well, this is an autoimmune disease, and this makes perfect sense because the immune system, as she has taught me very well, begins in the gut. So if you honor the gut and take care of the gut, that also is going to help your immune system.
I taught you something?
Yes. Well, I knew it, but I think you honed in on it.
Well, traditional diets and traditional cultures very focused on properly preparing foods. And one of the things that's very consistent throughout most traditional cultures in the world, traditional meaning, diets that we've seen being consumed for most of history, as far as we've been able to study nutritionally, or those cultures that still exist that are still making these foods. And the very specific foods are cultured foods. So whether it be yogurts or sour creams, things like that, or lacto-fermented vegetables, sauerkraut, or all sorts of different things like that, kimchi. And the benefit of these foods is that they go through a process where the bacteria get to proliferate, and they're beneficial bacteria, and it's a living food.
That's a natural probiotic then?
Yeah.
In their cultures, they naturally had probiotics, and we don't have that as well, so we
eat a diet that is completely dead. I mean, if you think about a typical American breakfast, we eat dry processed cereals with pasteurized or heated milk that it's been, all the living beneficial stuff from the milk's been killed out. We eat, grain foods, which are all processed and baked. We eat cooked meat. We eat everything is somehow cooked, and whether we cook it or we process it, which is essentially cooking it to death. We just don't eat foods that have living organisms in it. That's why people find a lot of benefits to a raw diet. I don't necessarily promote a raw diet, but I do recommend eating a lot of raw food in your diet. But probiotics are essentially that. It's essentially a supplement that has concentrated these beneficial bacteria to help with so many things, digestion.
So why wouldn't regular yogurt, Knutson's yogurt, have it?
Well, the way that the way I would make yogurt is with raw milk and a yogurt culture. Mm-hmm. And what we have being produced now is ultra pasteurized milk with the cultures being added after. So yes, for some yogurts, there are nutritional benefits. Sometimes I'll find, Bulgarian yogurt or
But if it has sugar in it.
Well, that's the thing is, I think that most of what people are eating is yogurt, like, these reduced fat or, non-fat yogurts with strawberry flavor, or apple pie flavor, or cheesecake flavor, and all this stuff that's really popular. I don't even think there's any living organisms left. There might be a little bit but honestly, I think the way they process it is they make this, this pasteurized creamy thing with a lot of additives, probably guar gum and xanthan gum, these things that make it thick like yogurt. They add all the flavorings, so it tastes just sweet, like a sweet custard. And, a good yogurt is going to be tart. And
what about that Activia?
You know, it's probably good. It's when I talk about different foods.
But how do you think their shelf life is probably pretty?
I'm sure it's fine. I mean, what they're the bad thing is the sugar. I mean, when you look at the amount of sugar that's in yogurt packages, I tell people across the board.
There's our carbohydrates again.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's really crazy the amount of sugar. If you just went to compare, I had a friend who does a nutritional talk, and she holds up different food products, and she holds up the yogurt, and like 10 sugar packets drop down because that's how much sugar is in kind of a typical strawberry, low-fat, non-fat type of yogurt. So what I tell people is buy whole milk yogurt, plain. If you can find raw, that's great, but most people can't, but just a whole milk organic yogurt would be good. And then add a little honey or, a little real maple syrup and some cinnamon. How do I treat adrenal fatigue? That's my favorite.
How do you? Oh.
I don't treat anything, but I address things. Sometimes the doctors make fun of nutritionists and holistic-y people because we always say it's the adrenal glands, right?
They do say that a lot. But we know there is a problem, and it's kind of subclinical because our testing, there are some specialized tests that you can do that often show adrenal deficiency, but it's kind of like you have a horrible disease or none at all.
Exactly.
And I think there's some in-between ground.
Well, that's what nutritional therapy does. Well, adrenal fatigue is something that nutritional therapists love to work with. There's lots of symptoms that I can look for that tell me that we have a dysfunctional adrenal gland. I'm going to be looking at all of the symptoms of the client and kind of seeing exactly what their situation is and what other symptoms they're having and kind of see maybe why they have this adrenal fatigue or these problems. But generally, easy things that you can do at home are to completely eliminate sugar from your diet, try to eliminate stress from your life, do things that support balance.
But the glucose regulation is the diet.
Yeah, glucose, blood sugar regulating diet, which is what...
That's the beginning, and then you have therapies.
Exactly, and the therapies they're typically going to be a glandular, and I do recommend that you use professional support. A nutritional therapist or a holistic practitioner or a naturopathic doctor. Some doctors will have adrenal glandular therapies available, which means adrenal gland, but it's powerful stuff, so you should definitely only be using that with professional supervision. Okay, well that's it. Thank you again for joining us, and don't forget to send us your questions so we can try to answer them on the next show. See you next time.